I sat at the dinner table in our cozy suburban home, the one my daughter Lydia and her husband Derek had bought 5 years ago after their wedding. The aroma of roasted chicken filled the air, mixed with the faint scent of garlic from the mashed potatoes I'd helped prepare earlier that afternoon. It was supposed to be a simple family meal, just the 3 of us, but tension had been building for weeks. At 62, widowed for 3 years since my husband passed from a sudden heart attack, I'd moved in with them to avoid the loneliness of our old empty house. I'd sold it and invested the proceeds wisely, building a nest egg no one knew about. My wallet felt heavier than it should have, the black card tucked inside, unused, unnoticed. But to them, I was just the grieving mother relying on their goodwill. Welcome to Stories of Auntie Maya. I share new life stories here every day, and I'd really appreciate it if you hit subscribe and liked my video. Drop a comment down below telling me where you're watching from and what time it is for you, right? Now, I read every single comment, and it helps me to know I'm not alone in this. Derek slammed his fork down midway through the meal, his face reddening as he glared at me across the table. "You know, Vivian, I've had about enough of this," he said, his voice sharp and accusatory. "You're sitting here eating our food, living under our roof, and what do you contribute? Nothing. You're like a parasite sucking us dry without a care." I froze, my spoon halfway to my mouth, the words hitting me like a slap. Lydia shifted uncomfortably in her chair beside him, avoiding my eyes as she poked at her plate. "Derek, maybe not now," she muttered weakly, but he waved her off without even glancing her way. "No, Lydia, it's time we said it out loud," he continued, leaning forward with that smug look he always got when talking money. "We've been carrying you for years, Vivian. Bills piling up, groceries, utilities. It's all on us. And what do? Sit around watching TV or knitting? If you're going to stay here, start pulling your weight or find somewhere else." My heart pounded in my chest, a mix of shock and anger rising up. I'd been biting my tongue for months, enduring his little comments about extra mouths to feed or how the guest room could be a home, office instead. But calling me a parasite in front of my own daughter? I felt the humiliation burn through me, tears pricking at my eyes, but I swallowed them down. Lydia finally looked up, her expression torn. "Honey, she's family," she said softly, reaching for his arm but pulling back when he shrugged her off. "Family? Try freeloader," Derek snapped, crossing his arms. "Remember last month when the electric bill spiked? That's because someone's always got the lights on in her room, or the water running for those long baths. We're not a charity, Vivian." I set my spoon down carefully, my hands trembling slightly as I met his gaze. The room felt smaller, the walls closing in with the weight of his words. I'd contributed in ways he didn't see, cooking meals, cleaning up after them, even slipping cash into the grocery fund when they weren't looking. But he painted me as useless, and Lydia's silence stung worse than anything. "Derek, that's not fair," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "I've been helping around here more than you know." He laughed, a short, bitter sound that echoed in the quiet dining room. "Helping? Like folding laundry? Big deal. We need real help, like paying bills. Face it, you're dependent on us, and it's time that changed." Lydia fidgeted with her napkin, her loyalty clearly divided. "Maybe we can talk about this later after dinner," she suggested, her voice barely above a whisper. But Derek shook his head. "No, now's perfect," he insisted. "She's been here long enough. Vivian, if you can't chip in, maybe it's time to look into senior housing or something. We can't keep this up forever." The injustice of it all boiled inside me. They had no idea about my investments, the stocks I'd nurtured over decades, or the black card that could cover a year's worth of their expenses in one swipe. I'd kept it hidden to avoid seeming like I was buying my way in, wanting genuine family bonds instead. But now, with his cruel label hanging in the air, I felt exposed and belittled. I pushed back from the table slowly, standing up with as much dignity as I could muster. "I never asked to be a burden," I told them, my voice cracking just a bit. "But if that's how you see me, maybe you're right. We need to rethink things." Derek smirked, satisfied with himself. "Finally, some sense," he said. "Glad we're on the same page." Lydia reached out then, her eyes wide with worry. "Mom, sit down. He didn't mean it like that." But he did, and we all knew it. I shook my head, the humiliation too raw to sit through the rest of the meal. "I'm not hungry anymore," I said, turning toward the stairs. Derek didn't say a word, just picked up his fork and kept eating as if nothing had happened. Lydia called after me softly, "Mom, please." But she didn't get up, didn't follow. She stayed there with him, her weak protest fading into the background. I made my way upstairs, each step feeling heavier than the last, the roasted chicken scent clinging to my clothes like a reminder of the failed evening. Closing the door to my room, the guest room they'd so generously given me, I leaned against it, my breath coming in short gasps. The tears I'd held back finally spilled over, hot and silent, as I slid down to the floor. How had it come to this? My own daughter, the girl I'd raised and loved through everything, sitting there while her husband tore me down. Parasite. The word echoed in my mind, twisting like a knife. I'd lost my husband, sold our home, and moved here thinking it would bring us closer. Instead, I was an outsider, humiliated in what was supposed to be a safe place. I wiped my eyes, staring at the dresser across the room where I'd hidden my financial papers. They didn't know the truth about the investments my late husband and I had built together, the security I'd quietly maintained. Part of me wanted to storm back down and shove it in Derek's face, prove I wasn't the dependent he accused me of being. But not tonight. The pain was too fresh, the betrayal from Lydia too sharp. I pulled myself up, shaking, and sat on the edge of the bed, clutching a pillow to my chest. The house was quiet now, save for the muffled clink of dishes from downstairs. They were probably finishing dinner without me, acting like everything was fine. My mind raced with the injustice of it. Derek's arrogance, Lydia's cowardice, it all fueled a deep ache in my chest. I'd endured his subtle jabs before, the eye rolls when I asked for a ride to the store, or the sighs over shared bills. But this was public, deliberate humiliation. I thought of my husband, how he'd always said family was everything, how we'd planned for a future where I wouldn't have to beg. The black card, symbol of our hard work, felt like a secret lifeline now, but revealing it would change everything, and not necessarily for the better. I didn't want pity or forced respect. I wanted real love, the kind that didn't come with conditions. Lying back on the bed, I stared at the ceiling, the tears drying on my cheeks. The room spun a little with the emotional whirlwind, but beneath the hurt, a quiet spark ignited. I wouldn't let this define me forever. One day, they'd see who the real parasite was, but for now, I just needed to breathe through the pain. The next morning, I woke up with a heavy head, the events from dinner still fresh, like a bad dream that wouldn't fade. I could hear Lydia moving around downstairs in the kitchen, the clatter of coffee cups and the hum of the microwave pulling me out of bed. I splashed water on my face in the small bathroom attached to my room, staring at my reflection, puffy eyes, lines deeper than yesterday, and told myself to keep it together. I wasn't about to let Derek's words break me completely, but the sting lingered. I dressed in my usual comfortable slacks and blouse, tucked the black card back into my wallet out of habit, and headed down, hoping for a quiet start to the day. The house smelled of fresh brew, a small comfort in the midst of everything. Lydia looked up from the counter as I entered, her smile forced and quick. "Morning, Mom. Coffee's ready. I made it strong, just how you like it." She poured me a mug, sliding it over with a plate of toast she'd buttered. "Thanks," I said, taking a sip and sitting at the island. The warmth helped a little, but the awkwardness hung in the air like smoke. Derek had already left for work, his car gone from the driveway, which gave us a moment alone. I wanted to talk about last night, but Lydia beat me to it. About dinner, she started, leaning against the counter with her own mug in hand. And Derek was out of line. He's been stressed with the promotion at work, and the bills are piling up more than usual. But he shouldn't have said those things. I nodded slowly, setting my mug down. "It hurt, Lydia. Calling me a parasite? I've been trying to help around here, cooking, cleaning, even putting money in for groceries when I can." She sighed, glancing away toward the window. "I know, Mom. You do help. But Derek, He sees the numbers. The mortgage went up this year, and with utilities and everything, it's tight. He thinks if everyone contributed more financially, it would ease things. Everyone? I repeated, feeling a flicker of frustration. You mean me? I've slipped cash into the envelope for bills before. Does he even notice? Lydia shifted her weight, her fingers tapping the mug. He notices the big picture, I guess. Look, I'm not defending him, but maybe we could talk about a small contribution. Like officially. It might calm him down. I felt my chest tighten. This was my daughter, the one I'd raised through tough times after her father and I scraped by in our early years. Now she was echoing Derek's complaints, even if softly. A contribution? Lydia, I'm not freeloading. I sold the house after your dad died to avoid being alone, but I didn't come here empty-handed. I know that, she said quickly, reaching across to pat my hand. But Derek doesn't see it that way. He thinks you're dependent. And with the way things are, maybe chipping in for rent or utilities could help keep the peace. The word dependent echoed Derek's from last night, and it grated on me. I pulled my hand back gently, standing to rinse my mug in the sink. Peace? By treating me like a tenant? I've been part of this family, helping in ways that aren't just money. Lydia's face softened, but she didn't push back hard. Mom, please, let's not fight. I'll talk to him when he gets home. The day dragged on after that. I busied myself with laundry, folding Derek's shirts with more force than necessary, the fabric crumpling under my grip. Around noon, Lydia headed out for errands, leaving me alone with my thoughts. I sat in the living room, flipping through channels on the TV, but nothing held my attention. The subtle jabs I'd endured for months replayed in my mind. Derek's sighs when I used the washing machine during peak hours. Or his comments about how the grocery bill had doubled since I moved in. I'd always brushed them off, not wanting to cause waves, but now they felt like building blocks to last night's explosion. Derek came home earlier than usual that afternoon, the front door slamming shut behind him. I heard him drop his keys on the hall table and mutter something under his breath. He walked into the kitchen where I was prepping vegetables for dinner, his tie loosened and a scowl on his face. "Vivian," he said, not even a hello. "We need to talk about the electric bill. It came today, higher again." I paused with the knife in hand, chopping carrots a bit slower. "Higher? I've been careful with the lights." He pulled the bill from his bag, slapping it on the counter. "Careful? $250 this month. That's up from last. You leave your room light on all day sometimes, and those baths, hot water, isn't free." My frustration bubbled up. "Derek, I take one bath a week, and the light? I read in there. I'm not wasting on purpose." He crossed his arms, leaning against the fridge. "It's adding up. Lydia and I work hard for this house. We can't keep covering extras because you're here." "Extras?" I set the knife down, turning to face him fully. "I've bought groceries, cleaned the place top to bottom. What more do you want?" "Money, Vivian. Actual money toward the bills." His tone was flat, like he was stating the obvious. "If you're living here, contribute like an adult, or maybe think about other options." I felt the heat rise in my cheeks. "Other options? Like what, kicking me out?" He shrugged, not denying it. "Senior living communities aren't bad. Some are nice, affordable even." Affordable. The word made me clench my fists. He had no idea about my nest egg, the investments growing steadily, or the black card that could pay that bill 10 times over. I'd kept it secret to avoid this exact dynamic, money complicating family. But his resentment was clear now, seeping out in every word. Lydia walked in then, bags in hand from the store. She caught the tension immediately, setting them down. "What's going on?" Derek gestured to the bill. "Just discussing finances. Vivian needs to step up." Lydia glanced between us, her expression uneasy. "Derek, we talked about this. Mom helps a lot." "Helps how?" he shot back. "Folding socks? We need cash, not chores." I watched Lydia hesitate, her mouth opening then closing. "Well, maybe a little contribution wouldn't hurt Mom, to share the load." Her words hit like a betrayal, even if mild. She was siding with him, avoiding the argument. "Share the load? I've shared everything, my time, my love, but fine if it's about money." Derek smirked slightly. "Good. Starting next month, $300 toward utilities. Sound fair? I didn't answer, just turned back to the vegetables, chopping harder. The knife thudded against the board, mirroring my pounding heart. Lydia unpacked the bags in silence, while Derek grabbed a beer from the fridge and headed to the living room, turning on the TV like the conversation was over. As evening fell, we ate leftovers and strained quiet, the air thick with unspoken words. Derek complained about work. Lydia nodded along, and I picked at my food. Later, as I cleared the table, Derek muttered to Lydia in the hall, loud enough for me to hear. "See, she's a burden. We can't keep this up." Lydia shushed him weakly. "Not now, Derek." But she didn't defend me, didn't push back. I retreated to my room again, the divide growing wider. My subtle contributions felt invisible, erased by his resentment. The frustration built inside me a slow burn. They saw me as dependent, but I knew the truth hidden in my drawer. For now, I held my tongue, but the pressure was mounting. That night, lying in bed, I replayed the day's jabs, Derek's complaints, Lydia's wavering support. It all deepened the frustration. I clutched the edge of the blanket, whispering to myself, if only they knew. The following day started much like the one before, with me rising early to the sound of birds outside my window and the faint hum of traffic from the suburban street. I pulled on a light sweater over my nightgown, my mind still churning from Derek's bill complaints and Lydia's half-hearted defenses. Downstairs, the kitchen was empty, but the coffee pot was already brewing. Lydia's doing, no doubt. As a small peace offering, I poured myself a cup and sat at the table, flipping through a magazine to distract myself. But the words blurred as I replayed his smirks and accusations. At 62, I shouldn't have to justify my existence in my daughter's home, but here I was, feeling like an intruder. The black card stayed hidden in my wallet upstairs, a silent reminder of my independence, but revealing it now felt like admitting defeat in their game of assumptions. Lydia came down soon after, her hair tied back and work clothes on, ready for her shift at the office. "Morning, Mom," she said, grabbing a banana from the fruit bowl. "Sleep okay?" "Not really," I replied, setting the magazine aside. Hard to after all that talk about bills and burdens. She paused, peeling the banana slowly. "Yeah, about that. Derek's just worried. The promotion didn't come with the raise he expected, and everything's costing more these days." I looked up at her, searching her face for the girl who used to confide in me about everything. "Worried? He treats me like I'm the cause of it all. I've been helping Lydia. You know that." She nodded, taking a bite. "I do. But maybe if we sat down together, worked out a plan." Before I could respond, Derek bounded down the stairs, his phone in hand and a briefcase slung over his shoulder. He glanced at us, his expression hardening when he saw me. "Morning," he muttered, heading straight for the coffee. "Bills paid, by the way. Another $250 out of our pocket." I felt my grip tighten on the mug. "Derek, I told you I don't waste electricity. Maybe check the AC or something else." He turned, pouring his coffee with exaggerated slowness. "AC? It's winter, Vivian. No, it's the extra person using resources. Lights, water, heat adds up when you're not contributing." Lydia stepped in, her voice soft. "Derek, come on. Mom's right. She's careful." But he ignored her, locking eyes with me. "Careful? Let's be real. You've been here 3 years, living off us like it's a free hotel. What did you even do before? Your husband handled everything, right? Now you're here, expecting the same." His words cut deep, mocking my past life with my late husband, as if our years of hard work meant nothing. "That's not true," I said, my voice rising. "We built a life together. I managed the home, the finances when he was away." "Don't you dare belittle that." Derek laughed, a harsh bark that filled the kitchen. "Managed? Sure. But now, you're questioning my value. Look in the mirror, Vivian. You're the one with no job, no income we see. If you were so capable, why not get your own place? Or is it easier to leech off family?" Leech. Another word like parasite, thrown out brazenly. I stood up, my chair scraping against the floor. "Leech? I've cooked your meals, cleaned your messes, watched your house when you're out. That's value, Derek." He set his mug down hard, spilling a little coffee. "Value? Anyone can do chores. We need real contribution money, or are you too proud to admit you're broke? Lydia put her hand on his arm. Stop, Derek. This isn't helping. But he shook her off, his face flushing. No, Lydia, she needs to hear it. Vivian, your past life sounds nice, but it's irrelevant now. You're a drain on us. Time to step up or step out. Find a job, pay rent, or look for senior housing. We're not running a charity for has-beens. Has-beens. The insult landed like a punch, questioning my entire worth. Tears threatened again, but I held them back, my anger boiling over. A has-been? You have no idea what I've done or what I have. You're the one acting entitled, like this house is your kingdom. Derek stepped closer, his voice lowering to a sneer. Entitled? I pay the mortgage, the bills, everything. What do you have, Vivian? Memories? That's not currency. If you can't contribute more, pack your bags. We could use the space for something useful, like a gym or office. I felt oppressed, cornered in my own family's home, his self-centered arrogance on full display. Lydia hovered nearby, wringing her hands. Derek, please, Mom's not going anywhere. We can figure this out. But he waved her away again. Figure what? She's had time. Vivian, I'm serious. Contribute or leave. Starting next week, $500 a month, or you're out. $500. The demand was brazen, pulling it out like a weapon. My emotions surged, hurt from his mockery, anger at his ultimatums. You can't just demand that, I said, my voice shaking. This is Lydia's home, too. Derek crossed his arms, smug. Our home. And Lydia agrees it's fair. I turned to her, pleading with my eyes. Do you? Lydia hesitated, looking between us. Well, it might help, Mom, just to share costs. Her words deepened the hurt, her avoidance fueling my isolation. I grabbed my mug and headed for the sink, rinsing it with trembling hands. Fine, if that's how it is. Derek nodded, satisfied. Good. Glad we're clear. He kissed Lydia on the cheek and grabbed his briefcase. See you tonight. Think about it, Vivian. As he left, the door clicking shut, Lydia turned to me. Mom, he's not wrong about the costs, but I'll talk to him, soften it. I dried my hands, my back to her. Soften? He's mocking my life, Lydia, questioning my value like I'm nothing. She sighed. He's stressed. Give it time. But time felt like the enemy now, his antagonism intensifying with every interaction. I spent the afternoon in the garden, pulling weeds with force, the dirt under my nails a distraction from the boiling emotions. Derek's words echoed, leech, has-been, drain. He'd exposed his true colors, self-centered and cruel, making me question staying here at all. By evening, dinner was tense again. I set the table with pasta I'd made, but Derek arrived late, slamming his bag down. Smells good, he said, but his tone was flat, though ingredients aren't free. I bit my tongue as we sat. Lydia tried small talk about work, but Derek steered back. So, Vivian, thought about that contribution? Or senior housing? I can look up places, affordable ones for your situation. Your situation. Like I was a problem to solve. Not yet, I replied tightly, but thanks for the concern. He forked his pasta. Concern? It's practicality. You're not getting younger. Better plan now than burden us forever? Lydia cleared her throat. Derek, enough. But he pressed on. No, she needs to face it. What value do you bring, really? Chores? We can hire a maid cheaper. The brazen mockery pushed me closer to the edge, my hurt turning to raw anger. I set my fork down. Value? More than you know, Derek, but keep pushing. See what happens. He smirked. Threats? From you? Cute. Lydia reached for my hand. Mom, let's not. I pulled away, standing. I'm done. I retreated upstairs, the door shutting behind me with a click. Alone, my emotions boiled, oppressed, mocked, pushed to a breaking point. His arrogance made my blood run hot, and I paced the room, whispering to myself. Something had to change. The weekend arrived with a chill in the air, the kind that seeped into the house despite the heater running. I woke up later than usual, my body heavy from another restless night replaying Derek's ultimatums in my head. I shouldn't be losing sleep over my son-in-law's demands, but his words from the past days, leech. Has been. $500 rent. Kept echoing like a bad record. I shuffled downstairs in my robe, the wooden steps creaking under my feet, and found Lydia already in the kitchen, flipping pancakes on the griddle. The smell of maple syrup filled the room, a sweet contrast to the sour mood lingering from our last talks. Derek sat at the table, scrolling through his phone, his coffee mug steaming beside him. "Morning, Mom," Lydia said, glancing over her shoulder with a tentative smile. "Pancakes are almost ready. I thought we could have a nice family breakfast, talk things out calmly." I nodded, pouring myself some orange juice from the fridge. "Sounds good. We need to clear the air." Derek looked up from his screen, his eyes narrowing slightly. "Clear the air? Sure, Vivian. As long as it involves you agreeing to that contribution. Bills don't pay themselves." I sat down across from him, stirring my juice slowly. "Derek, I've been thinking about what you said. I don't want to be a burden, but $500 seems steep. Maybe we start smaller, like $200 for utilities." He set his phone down with a thud, leaning back in his chair. "Smaller? This isn't a negotiation. It's $500 or nothing. We've carried you long enough, 3 years of free room and board. Time to act like an adult." Lydia plated the pancakes and brought them over, her movements quick and nervous. "Derek, let's not jump straight into it. Mom, eat first. We can discuss after." But he ignored her, pointing a finger at me. "No, Lydia, she needs to hear this now. Vivian, if you can't pay, fine. But don't expect access to everything here. The Wi-Fi password? I'll change it. Groceries? Buy your own. Even the laundry, do it elsewhere if you want. We're not funding your lifestyle anymore." My stomach twisted at his threats, the pancake on my fork suddenly unappetizing. Change the Wi-Fi? Buy my own groceries? Derek, that's ridiculous. I live here. This is family. He smirked, cutting into his stack. Family helps each other. You've been taking, not giving. If you won't contribute, why should we share? It's simple math. Lydia sat between us, her fork hovering. "Honey, that's too harsh. Mom's part of the household. We can't just cut her off like that." "Watch me," Derek said, his voice cold. "On starting Monday, if no payment plan, she's on her own for extras. Cable TV in her room? Gone. Rides to the store? Find a bus. We're done being the bank." I felt cornered, the walls of the kitchen closing in as his words piled on. I'd endured his jabs before, but this was oppression, threatening to strip away basic comforts in my own daughter's home. Tears pricked my eyes again, but I blinked them back, my hands clenching under the table. "Derek, you're treating me like a stranger. I've helped with chores, meals. Does that count for nothing?" He laughed, wiping his mouth with a napkin. "Chores? We can hire help for less than what you cost us in utilities. Face it, Vivian, you're powerless here without us. No job, no savings we know of. What are you going to do? Move out with nothing?" The unfairness burned inside me. They had no clue about my hidden investments, the nest egg from selling the house, or the black card that could buy groceries for a year without blinking. But revealing it now felt like giving in to his bullying, and the isolation hit hard. Lydia just sat there, not pushing back enough. "Mom, he's not serious about all that," Lydia said weakly, reaching for my arm. "But we can work something out, right, Derek?" He shrugged, standing to refill his coffee. "Serious as a heart attack. She agrees to $500 by tomorrow, or restrictions start. End of discussion." I pushed my plate away, standing up with shaky legs. "I need some air." I grabbed my coat from the hook by the door and stepped outside, the cold wind hitting my face like a slap. The neighborhood was quiet, kids playing down the street, but I felt utterly alone, oppressed by his control over the household. How had it come to this? Threats over Wi-Fi and groceries. Back inside after a short walk, the tension hadn't eased. Lydia was cleaning up, Derek lounging on the couch watching a game. "Thought about it?" he called out without looking up. I hung up my coat, my voice steady despite the despair building. "Derek, let's talk reasonably. $500 is half a pension check for some people. What if I pay $300 and keep helping around the house?" He muted the TV, turning to face me. "Pension? You don't even have one we know about. And no $500, or face the consequences. I'll even help you look for apartments if needed. Cheap ones for seniors." Lydia came in from the kitchen, drying her hands on a towel. Derek, stop. Mom, ignore him. We'll figure a fair amount. But he stood up, blocking my path to the stairs. Ignore? Lydia, you agreed last night this is fair. Vivian's been freeloading. If she won't pay, cut her access. Phone bill? We'll remove her line. Car insurance? Off the policy. She's not helpless. Let her prove it. The accusations piled on, each one amplifying my powerless feeling. Remove my phone line? Derek, that's my only way to call friends, doctors. You're going too far. He crossed his arms, unyielding. Too far. You've gone too far staying here rent-free. Decide by dinner, or I start making changes. I glanced at Lydia, desperate for support. Are you okay with this? She hesitated, looking down. Mom, it's tough, but money's tight. Maybe $400 compromise? Her words stung, her weak stance leaving me isolated. I brushed past Derek, heading upstairs. I can't believe this. In my room, I shut the door and sank onto the bed, the despair washing over me like a wave. Unfair, that's what it was. Threatening to cut me off from basics, painting me as helpless when I had strength they couldn't see. The afternoon dragged, me pacing the room, contemplating my next steps. Derek's voice carried from downstairs, laughing at the game, while Lydia knocked softly once. Mom, want to talk? Not now, I said through the door, my voice muffled. She left without insisting, amplifying my isolation. By evening, dinner was silent takeout pizza on the table. Derek slid a paper over, a household agreement he'd printed, listing the $500 demand and restrictions if unpaid. Sign or not, your choice, he said, biting into a slice. I stared at it, the words blurring. This is oppression, Derek. Treating me like a tenant you can evict. He nodded. Exactly. Pay up or pack up. Lydia poked at her food. Derek, ease up. But he didn't, the pressure mounting. I left the table early, retreating again, feeling utterly cornered. Alone in my room, the emotional weight crushed me. Powerless, isolated. Despair, sob Auntie. Deep, but amid the hurt, I thought of my hidden assets. Maybe it was time to contemplate real steps, though the pain made it hard to see clear. I woke up that Monday morning feeling like a weight was pressing down on my chest. The weekend's arguments still fresh and raw in my mind. The sunlight streamed through the thin curtains in my room, but it did nothing to lift the heaviness. After losing my husband 3 years ago to that sudden heart attack, I'd moved in here thinking it would bring us closer as a family. But Derek's demands and threats had turned it into a prison of sorts. The $500 rent or face restrictions like no Wi-Fi or separate groceries. It was all too much, making me feel small and trapped. I sat up in bed, my hand absently touching the wallet on my nightstand where I'd left it last night, reminding myself of the black card inside, symbol of the investments my husband and I had built together. They were my secret, my safety net. But until now, I'd held back, not wanting to turn family into a transaction. Today, though, as I heard Derek's voice drifting up from the kitchen, something inside me finally broke. I couldn't keep bending. It was time to shift from this powerless state to something smarter, more calculated. I pulled on my robe and headed downstairs, the wooden steps cool under my feet. The kitchen smelled of fresh coffee and toast, a normal start to the day that felt anything but. Lydia stood at the counter, buttering slices, while Derek sat at the table, scrolling through his phone with a mug in hand. He looked up as I entered, his expression shifting to that familiar mix of annoyance and superiority. Well, morning, Vivian. Hope you got some rest. We need to wrap up this contribution talk today. End of the week is the deadline for that $500 pay, or the restrictions start rolling in. I poured myself a cup of coffee, my hands steady despite the knot in my stomach. Derek, I've been thinking about it all night. It's a big ask, but I'm trying to see how it could work. He set his phone down, leaning forward with a confident grin, like he'd already won. Big ask? Come on, Vivian, it's fair. I've got the whole household finances under my thumb. Mortgage payments, utility bills, groceries. Everything runs through me, and it works because I keep it tight. Without my job pulling in the cash, we'd all be struggling. You should appreciate that instead of dragging your feet. Lydia turned from the counter, setting a plate of toast in front of me with a soft smile. Derek, let's keep it calm. Mom, maybe we can meet halfway or figure out something fair that works for everyone. But Derek shook his head, not even glancing at her as he continued. Halfway, Lydia, we've been more than fair already. 3 years of covering an extra person, meals, electricity, all of it. I'm the one balancing the checkbook every month, making sure we don't go over. If Vivian doesn't step up with that $500 by the end of the week, Wi-Fi password changes first thing. No more free access for your online shopping or whatever. And groceries? You'll handle your own from then on. Separate shelf in the fridge. No dipping into ours. I took a sip of coffee, the bitterness matching the taste in my mouth from his words. His boasting hit hard, acting like he was the sole provider, the king dictating terms. Derek, treating me like this isn't right. I've contributed in other ways, helping with the house, the cooking. Family shouldn't come down to dollars and restrictions. He laughed lightly, spreading jam on his toast without a care. Contributed. Vivian, chores are nice, but they don't pay the bills. I've got spreadsheets tracking every expense, utilities up because of the extra usage. Food costs doubled. I'm in control here, and it's staying that way. If you can't cough up the cash, fine, but don't expect the perks. Phone bill add-on? I can cut that too. It's my call, and I'm making it to protect what Lydia and I built. Lydia reached across the table, patting my hand gently. Honey, you're being a bit strict. Mom, we'll talk more later and find a way that's fair, okay? No need to rush. Her words were soft, trying to ease the tension, but she didn't push back against him. Didn't stand up and say it was wrong. It stung, seeing her avoid the real fight just to keep peace in her marriage. Derek nodded along, wiping his mouth with a napkin. See? Lydia gets it. End of the week, Vivian, that's the line. I've got this household locked down financially. No one's undermining that. Now I better head to work, think it over. He stood up, rinsing his plate quickly before grabbing his keys from the hook by the door. With a quick peck on Lydia's cheek, he was gone, the front door clicking shut behind him. The kitchen fell quiet, save for the drip of the faucet. Lydia busied herself clearing the table, avoiding my eyes. Mom, he's under pressure at work. It'll blow over if we just adjust a little. I nodded vaguely, finishing my coffee in silence. Maybe. But inside, the breaking point had solidified into resolve. His triumphs, his control over every little thing. It frustrated me to the core, but it also cleared my vision. I wasn't powerless. I had my hidden records, the proof of my independence safely stashed away, untouched for now, no more weakness. I'd counterattack discreetly, starting small to stay hidden, chipping away at his so-called control over time, until the balance shifted without him realizing, until it was too late. The afternoon dragged on after Lydia headed out for her shift at the office. I stayed in the living room, flipping through an old magazine on the couch, but my mind wasn't on the pages. Derek's boasts replayed in my head, his spreadsheets, his decisions, his threats by the end of the week. It built a fire in me, transforming the hurt into strategy. I touched my wallet again, slipped into my pocket now, feeling the outline of the black card through the fabric. It was a reminder. I had options he couldn't touch, but I'd be smart about it. No rash moves. Undermine him quietly. Let him keep thinking he was in charge. By evening, the house filled with the aroma of spaghetti sauce simmering on the stove. Lydia's doing when she got home. Derek arrived shortly after, loosening his tie as he walked in. It smells good in here. Any updates on that contribution, Vivian? Clock's ticking. End of the week, remember? I helped set the table, keeping my tone even. Still considering, Derek. He sat down, serving himself a plate. Consider faster. I've got the finances handled. Don't make me enforce those restrictions early. Lydia dished out portions, her voice light. Let's eat first. We can figure something fair later. The meal passed with Derek steering the talk to his day, boasting about a meeting where he'd nailed the budget projections. I ate quietly, the tension simmering, but my internal shift held firm. After clearing up, I excused myself upstairs early, closing my room door behind me. Sitting on the bed, I stared out the window at the darkening sky. His control frustrated me endlessly, but I'd turn it around. Tomorrow I'd begin, one quiet step at a time. The next morning, Tuesday, I woke up with a clear head for the first time in days, the decision from last night burning like a quiet fire inside me. I slipped out of bed, the floor cool under my feet, and glanced at the nightstand where my wallet sat, the black card safe inside. Downstairs, the house was still asleep, no sounds from Lydia or Derek yet. Giving me a moment to breathe, I made coffee quietly, pouring it into my mug with steady hands, thinking about how to start gathering what I needed without raising alarms. My investment records were hidden in the bottom drawer of my dresser, untouched for years. But today I'd pull them out carefully, piece by piece. As the coffee brewed, I heard footsteps on the stairs, Lydia coming down first, her hair messy from sleep. "Morning, Mom," she said, yawning as she reached for a cup. "You up early? Everything okay?" "Yeah, just couldn't sleep much," I replied, handing her the creamer from the fridge. Thinking about that contribution talk. Maybe I need to look into my old papers, see what I can do. "Hey," she nodded, stirring her coffee slowly. That might help. Derek's serious about the end of the week deadline, but if you show him something concrete, it could ease things. Want me to help dig through stuff? I shook my head, keeping my tone light. "No, I've got it. They're in my room, old bank stuff from before I moved in. I'll sort it later." Derek came down then, buttoning his shirt, his face set in that usual confident lines. "What's this about papers?" he asked, grabbing a banana from the bowl on the counter. "Finally getting serious about the $500, Vivian? Good, because I've got the budget updated. No wiggle room." Lydia jumped in before I could answer. "Mom's looking at her old financials. Maybe there's something there to contribute with." He peeled the banana, taking a bite. "Old financials? Hope it's not just excuses. Remember, end of the week or Wi-Fi goes first. I've got control here, don't forget that." I met his eyes steadily. "I won't forget, Derek. Just handling my side." He nodded, satisfied, and headed out soon after, briefcase in hand. Lydia lingered, rinsing her cup. "Mom, if you find anything, let's talk before showing him. We can figure a fair way." "Sure," I said, watching her grab her purse and leave for work. Alone now, I went upstairs, closing my door softly behind me. I knelt by the dresser, pulling out the bottom drawer where I'd stashed the envelope years ago. Inside were the bank statements and investment summaries, pages yellowed but clear, showing the growth from the house sale and our careful planning. I flipped through them quickly, my heart pounding a little, balances higher than even I remembered. Enough to cover that $500 100 times over, but I wouldn't show them yet. This was for my eyes, building my case quietly. I tucked the papers into a folder and hid it under my mattress for now, then sat on the bed, thinking about next steps. I needed advice, someone outside this mess to remind me I wasn't crazy. My old friend Margaret came to mind. She'd been my neighbor before the move, sharp with money after running her own business for decades. I picked up my phone and dialed her number, the line ringing twice before she answered. "Vivian, it's been ages," Margaret said, her voice warm and familiar. "How are you holding up over there?" "Not great," I admitted, pacing the room as I talked. Derek's pushing hard, calling me a burden, demanding $500 rent, or he'll cut off things like Wi-Fi and groceries. It's getting ugly. She sighed on the other end. "That sounds rough, but Vivian, you're not helpless. Remember how you and Tom built that nest egg? Those investments you told me about? You've got capabilities he doesn't know. Don't let him bully you." Her words hit home, reminding me of the strength I'd forgotten in all this chaos. "You're right. I've got the records here, statements showing I'm independent. But I need to play it smart, gather more before I push back." "Exactly," Margaret said. "Start with what you have. Check for any leverage on his side, too. People like that often have their own messes. And if you need, I can look over those papers, send scans if you want." We talked for half an hour, her advice steadying me like an anchor. "You've got this, Vivian. Remind yourself, you're capable. Turn it around on him." After hanging up, I felt the balance shifting a little, my confidence growing. I spent the next hour organizing the statements on my bed, noting key figures, the stock growth, the account balances. It was proof of my independence, solid and real. But I needed more. something to tip the scales further. Around noon, Lydia texted she was running late, and Derek called to say he'd be home early. I used the time to tidy the house, vacuuming the living room where Derek kept his work bag. As I moved it aside, a folder slipped out, papers scattering on the floor. I knelt to pick them up, glancing at the top sheet by accident. A credit card statement in Derek's name, balances high with charges I didn't recognize. Restaurants, online shopping, even a gym membership he never mentioned. But the total, thousands in debt, interest piling up. It was his own financial mismanagement, hidden from Lydia probably. My pulse quickened. This was leverage, accidental but gold. I snapped quick photos with my phone, hands shaking a bit, then put everything back exactly as it was. No alerting them yet. This discovery shifted things in my favor slowly but surely. The tension built inside me, knowing I had something on him now, preparing without a word. That afternoon, I met Margaret at a nearby cafe, the folder of my statements in my bag. She hugged me at the door, her gray hair pulled back in a neat bun. "Let's see what you've got," she said as we sat with our teas. I slid the folder over discreetly. "These are the investments. Balances are strong, enough to prove I'm not dependent." She flipped through, nodding. "Impressive, Vivian. Tom would be proud. This black card mentioned here, unlimited limit? That's power. Use it wisely." We discussed strategy, her reminding me of my capabilities again. "Gather more if you can. That debt you found on Derek? Dig subtle. Maybe check public records online, but keep it quiet." "I will," I said, sipping my tea. "This shifts everything. He's been boasting about control, but he's mismanaging his own money." Margaret leaned in. "Exactly. Build your case. You're not the weak one here. Back home." I hid the photos in an encrypted folder on my phone, the process heightening the tension as I prepared. Derek arrived first, dropping his bag in the usual spot. "Any progress on that $500?" he asked, loosening his tie. "Still sorting," I replied, stirring soup on the stove. He smirked. "Sort faster. End of the week restrictions if not." Lydia came in then, hanging her coat. "Smells good, Mom. How was your day?" "Fine," I said, serving bowls. Talked to an old friend, got some perspective. Derek raised an eyebrow. "Perspective? Hope it's about paying up. I've got finances locked, don't need advice from outsiders." We ate in tense silence mostly, me keeping my discoveries hidden. Later, as they watched TV, I slipped upstairs, reviewing the photos again. The balance was shifting, my leverage growing. The tension coiled tighter, but I was ready, preparing without them knowing. That night, lying in bed, I thought about the day, the statements, Margaret's words, Derek's hidden debt. It all added up, giving me an edge. Tomorrow I'd build on it, quietly turning the tide. That Wednesday morning, I woke up with a sense of purpose that had been building since my talk with Margaret the day before, her words about my capabilities still ringing in my ears. The sun was just peeking through the curtains in my room, casting a soft glow on the dresser where I'd locked away my financial statements in the bottom drawer after organizing them yesterday. I didn't touch them today, but knowing they were there, secure and ready if needed, gave me the push to take that first small step. Downstairs, I started the coffee pot as usual, the aroma filling the kitchen while I thought about the water bill Derek had complained about last week. It was one of those shared expenses he always lorded over. Claiming his auto-pay kept everything in check. With Margaret's encouragement fresh in my mind, I decided this was the moment to act subtly. Pay it as a one-time guest without leaving my name, just to poke a hole in his "I control the finances" routine. Lydia came down first, tying her robe as she yawned. "Morning, Mom. Coffee smells good. You look determined today." I poured her a cup, handing it over with a small smile. "Thanks. Yeah, slept better. That water bill Derek mentioned, it's on auto-pay from his account, right? Just curious if it's gone through yet." She took a sip, leaning against the counter. "I think so, but he handles all that." "Why, thinking about contributing to it." Before I could answer, Derek shuffled in, his shirt half-buttoned, grabbing a banana from the bowl. "Contributing? Vivian, if you're finally ready to pay that $500, say so. Water bills set on auto-pay should have deducted yesterday. I've got the app. I'll check later. Everything's under control, as always." I stirred my coffee, keeping my tone even. Just asking, Derek. No big deal. He peeled the banana, taking a bite. Better not be. End of the week for the rent or restriction start. Wi-Fi password change first. I'm the one keeping tabs on all this. Don't need surprises messing up my system. Lydia set her cup down, glancing at him. Derek, she's just curious. If Mom wants to help with a bill, maybe that's a good thing. He shrugged, tossing the peel in the trash. Help? Fine, but not by tampering. Autopay's reliable, unless there's a glitch like last year when the bank delayed it. Anyway, off to work. Text if anything comes up, Lydia. He grabbed his keys and headed out, the door closing behind him with its usual thud. Lydia lingered a moment, rinsing her cup. He's particular about the bills, Mom, but if you want to pitch in, I can give you the account number later. No need, I said, watching her gather her things for work. I'll figure it out. Once she left too, waving from her car in the driveway, the house was mine. I sat at the kitchen table with my laptop, pulling up the utility company's website that I'd bookmarked yesterday while talking to Margaret. I dialed her number, putting her on speaker as I navigated the site. Margaret, it's Vivian, I said when she answered. I'm doing it, the water bill. Got the account number from an old statement Derek left on the counter last month. Going in as a guest payer. She sounded approving on the other end. Good for you. Keep it simple, one-time payment. No account creation. That way, it shows up paid but without your details attached. Walk me through if you need. With her guiding me step by step, I entered the account number as a guest. No login required. Okay, amounts $142.50, like the last bill, I said, typing it in. Then I pulled my wallet from my purse on the table, taking out the black card and entering the details carefully. The number, expiration, code. It processed in moments, a confirmation screen popping up. Payment received, balance 0. No name listed, just one-time payment in the description. Done, I told Margaret, a quiet rush of satisfaction washing over me. It'll show in their system, but not who did it. Perfect first move, she replied. He'll see it's covered and wonder how his autopay glitch got fixed without him. Builds that doubt without you saying a word. Call if you need more. I hung up, saving a screenshot of the confirmation to my phone's protected folder, right next to the photos of Derek's credit card statement from yesterday. It felt like a small victory, this initial strike. Nothing flashy, just enough to unsettle his grip on the household narrative. I closed the laptop and went about my day, doing laundry and tidying up. But my mind kept drifting back to how he'd react when he noticed. Around noon, I stepped out for a short walk around the block, the crisp air clearing my head. The neighborhood was quiet, kids at school, neighbors at work, and I felt a growing confidence with each step. This wasn't about revenge. It was about protecting myself, showing I wasn't the dependent he painted me as, even if only to myself for now. Back home, I made a sandwich for lunch, eating at the table while flipping through a magazine, the suspense building as the afternoon wore on. Would he check the app at work or wait till evening? Lydia got home around 5, dropping her bag in the hall with a sigh. Rough day at the office. What's for dinner, Mom? I can help. Stir fry, I said, chopping onions in the kitchen. How was work? Busy, but okay. She grabbed a water from the fridge. Derek texted he's stopping for gas, home soon. Mentioned checking the bills, something about confirming autopay. My pulse quickened a bit, but I kept chopping steadily. Oh, hope everything's fine. Derek arrived 20 minutes later, keys jingling as he came through the door. He hung his coat and pulled out his phone almost immediately, scrolling while kicking off his shoes. Hey, Lydia, Vivian, let me just verify that water bill autopay should have hit. But I like to double-check after that glitch last year. He sat on the couch, tapping the screen. His face relaxed at first. Then his brow furrowed and he zoomed in. Wait. Balance is 0. Paid today, but my autopay was scheduled for yesterday. It shows a one-time payment. Guest method. No name, just processed this morning. What the? Lydia looked over from the kitchen doorway. Paid? Maybe the autopay went through late? He shook his head, refreshing the app. No, my card wasn't charged. Check the bank app too. This is separate. Some anonymous payment covering the full amount. Vivian, you know anything about this. You asked about the bill this morning. I set down the knife. wiping my hands on a towel as I turned to face him. Me? How would I? I don't have access to your accounts. Maybe a credit from the company or something. He stood up, pocketing his phone with a frustrated sigh. Credit? Unlikely. They don't just pay bills for free. If this is some game, it doesn't change the $500 demand. End of the week, or the restrictions kick in. But this unsettles me. Who pays someone else's bill without saying? Lydia came over, peering at his screen when he showed her. Weird, but hey, it's paid. Saves us money, right? Don't overthink it. But Derek paced a little. His usual smugness cracked just a hair. Saves? Yeah, but it messes with my system. I control the payments here. Autopay keeps it consistent. If it's not a glitch, someone's interfering. I busied myself with the stir-fry, adding veggies to the pan, the sizzle filling the awkward silence. Well, whatever it is, dinner's almost ready. We sat down to eat soon after, the table tense as Derek poked at his food, glancing at his phone now and then. I'll call the company tomorrow, get details. Guest payments should have some trace, IP or something. Can't have mysteries in my budget. Lydia tried to change the subject. Work was hectic today, new project deadlines. He nodded absently. Yeah, mine too, but this bill thing, irritating. Feels off. I ate quietly, the quiet satisfaction warming me more than the meal. He was unsettled, his certainty about controlling everything shaken by this small anomaly. No admission from me, no reveal. Just enough to create doubt, building suspense for what might come next. After dinner, as they cleared the plates, Derek muttered to Lydia in the kitchen, loud enough for me to hear from the living room. If Vivian's behind it, how? She doesn't have money like that, but who else? Lydia's voice soothing. Maybe it's nothing. Let it go for tonight. I retreated upstairs early, closing my door and sitting on the bed. The first counterblow had landed, subtle but effective. His irritation a sign the power was shifting. Tomorrow, I'd watch how it unfolded, ready to continue one quiet step at a time. That Thursday evening, I decided it was time to let a piece of the truth come out. Not everything at once, but enough to start pushing back against Derek's constant claims that I was nothing but a dependent. I'd spent the afternoon thinking it over, staring at my phone, where I'd photographed a summary page from one of my bank statements earlier in the week, a simple screenshot showing a partial account balance, without all the details, just enough to prove I had resources. The full statement stayed locked in the bottom dresser drawer upstairs, safe and untouched for now. I called in a pizza order from our usual place, paying cash at the door when the delivery guy arrived, figuring a family dinner like this would be the right moment to bring it up casually, without turning it into a full-blown war yet. Lydia got home first, dropping her purse on the hall table with a tired sigh as the aroma of fresh pepperoni and cheese filled the kitchen. Mom, you ordered pizza. That's thoughtful. I was dreading cooking after today. Meetings ran late again. I set out plates and napkins on the dining table, keeping things light. No problem. Figured we could all use an easy night. Derek should be home soon. She nodded, grabbing a soda from the fridge and popping it open. Yeah, he texted he's on his way, still muttering about that water bill thing from yesterday. The company told him it was a one-time guest payment, but they can't share payer details without a formal request or something. It's got him all worked up. Derek walked in a few minutes later, the front door clicking shut behind him as he hung up his jacket. Smells good in here. Pizza? Nice change. Usually I handle the orders, but this works. He washed his hands at the sink, glancing over at me with that familiar edge in his eyes. Any more mysteries today, Vivian? I spent half my lunch break on the phone with the utility folks. Still no clue on that guest payment, but it's paid, so whatever. We sat down around the table, boxes open in the center, steam rising from the slices as I passed around the plates. Lydia grabbed a piece with extra cheese, folding it before taking a bite. This hits the spot. Thanks, Mom. Derek pulled off a slice, sauce dripping a bit as he lifted it. Yeah, decent. But let's not dodge the real issue. End of the week is tomorrow for that $500 contribution. If you're stalling with these little surprises like the bill, it doesn't cut it. I've got the autopay set for a reason. Keeps everything in my control. One glitch or whatever doesn't change that you're still not pulling your weight here. I took a bite of my own slice, the warm crust crunching under my teeth, and chewed slowly, feeling the moment build in my chest. Lydia shifted uncomfortably beside me, wiping her mouth with a napkin. Derek, maybe tonight we just eat. The bill's paid. That's one less thing for us. But he leaned forward, setting his slice down half-eaten. No, Lydia, we need to address it. Vivian, if you've got some secret way of paying bills, spill it. You've been here 3 years, eating our food, using our space, and now suddenly things get handled? Smells like avoidance to me. Face it, you're dependent, and that $500 is the minimum to stay. The words stung, echoing all the insults he'd thrown before, but I swallowed my bite and set my plate aside, wiping my hands carefully. This was my chance to defend myself, to show I wasn't the helpless widow he kept painting me as. Derek, you've said that enough times, parasite, burden, dependent. But you're wrong. After my husband died, I didn't come here empty-handed. I sold our house and invested the money wisely. I've got savings and assets I've kept private because I wanted this to be about family, not finances. But your threats have pushed me to this. Lydia's eyes widened, her soda halfway to her mouth. Mom, what do you mean assets? You've never mentioned that before. Derek snorted, crossing his arms over his chest. Assets? Convenient story. If that's true, why hide it all this time? Sounds like a bluff to dodge the rent. Prove it, Vivian, right now. Otherwise, it's just words, and the deadline stands. Restrictions start Saturday if that $500 isn't in my hand. I pulled my phone from my pocket, unlocking it with a steady thumb and opening the Photos app to that one screenshot I'd prepared. A partial view of my investment account summary, showing a 5-figure balance without the account numbers or full history redacted in my mind, as I cropped it earlier. I slid the phone across the table to him. Here, this is a summary from my investment account. It's real, Derek. And that water bill? I paid it yesterday as a one-time guest payment through their website. I got the account number from an old bill you left out. I did it to contribute, to show I'm not the drain you keep calling me. No games, just proving I can handle things too. Lydia leaned in, peering at the screen over his shoulder, her expression a mix of shock and confusion. Mom, this shows, wow, over 50,000? Is this current? Why keep it secret? We could have worked something out earlier. Derek scrolled the image up and down, his face tightening, the usual smugness giving way to a flicker of doubt as he zoomed in on the balance line. 50 grand could be photoshopped. Anyone can fake a screenshot these days. And the bill? You admit it now? Sneaking around, paying it without telling us? That's not contributing. That's interfering with my setup. The auto-pay glitched because of whatever you did. If this summary's legit, why not show the full thing? Statements, logs, the works. This partial crap doesn't prove squat. You're still on the hook for that $500 by tomorrow. Or the Wi-Fi password changes first thing Saturday, and groceries go separate. I took the phone back when he pushed it toward me, locking the screen and slipping it into my pocket, my heart pounding but my voice steady. It's legit, Derek. I kept it private to avoid exactly this, turning family into a money fight. But you forced my hand with all the threats and insults. This is me defending myself, showing I'm independent. Lydia, I didn't want you caught in the middle, but here we are. Lydia fidgeted with her napkin, looking between us, her loyalty clearly torn. This is a lot to take in. Mom, if you have savings like that, that's amazing, but why not say so sooner? Derek, maybe this means we can adjust the contribution. No need to jump to restrictions. Derek stood up, pacing a few steps behind his chair, his irritation plain as he ran a hand through his hair. Adjust. Lydia, don't buy into this half story. One screenshot and a sneaky bill payment doesn't erase years of her freeloading. If there's more proof, bring it all out tomorrow. Until then, the deadline holds. I'm not letting this shake my control. The bills, the budget. It's all on me to keep us afloat. I cleared my plate to the sink, rinsing it under the running water, the sound drowning out the tension for a moment. The partial reveal had done its job. His narrative was starting to crack. That certainty he always wore like armor now showing dents. Lydia helped stack the pizza boxes, whispering to me as she passed, Mom, we need to talk more. This changes things, doesn't it? I nodded slightly, drying my hands on a towel. It does, but let's see how he sleeps on it. Derek grabbed a beer from the fridge, popping it open with a sharp hiss before heading to the living room. Verify that screenshot. I'll look into it. But don't think this satisfies anything, Vivian. Full proof or the consequences hit. The rest of the evening hung heavy, him on the couch scrolling his phone, probably trying to poke holes in what I'd shown, while Lydia flipped through TV channels, the silence broken only by canned laughter from a sitcom. I excused myself upstairs after a while, closing my door and sitting on the edge of the bed. Phone in hand, the truth was surfacing bit by bit, and his rattled demands for more proof told me it was working. Tomorrow I'd reveal a little more, pushing us closer to the full reckoning. The next day, Friday, dawned with a heaviness in the air. The end of the week deadline Derek had set looming like a storm cloud over the house. I woke up early, my mind sharp from a night of planning, and headed straight to my dresser, unlocking the bottom drawer to pull out the full folder of bank statements I'd organized earlier in the week. The papers felt solid in my hands, pages detailing years of investments and growth. But I also grabbed my wallet from the nightstand, the black card inside it ready to serve as the ultimate symbol of my independence. Downstairs, I made breakfast, eggs, and toast to set the stage for a family talk, knowing this was the moment to lay it all out, expose his hypocrisy with the credit card debt photos on my phone, and demand he back off for good. Lydia came down first, still in her pajamas, rubbing her eyes as she smelled the food cooking. Mom, breakfast? You didn't have to. Today's the deadline Derek mentioned. Everything okay? I plated the eggs, sliding one over to her with a piece of toast. It's fine. We need to talk as a family anyway. After last night's reveal, I think it's time to clear the air completely. She sat at the table, picking up her fork. Yeah, that screenshot surprised me. If you have that much saved, why all the secrecy? Derek was up late, saying he wants full proof today, or the restrictions start tomorrow. Derek tromped down the stairs then, his face set in a scowl as he entered the kitchen, grabbing coffee from the pot without a word. Full proof? Damn right, Vivian. That partial screenshot could be anything. Fake, outdated. If you're claiming assets, show the real deal. The $500 is due today, or Wi-Fi changes tomorrow, and we'll discuss your room next. I've got the household under control. Your little stunts like the water bill don't change that. I set his plate down in front of him, meeting his glare head-on. Stunts. Derek, that was me contributing, proving I'm not dependent. But fine, you want full proof? Let's do this now. Lydia looked between us, her fork hovering. Guys, can we eat first? No fighting over breakfast. But Derek leaned forward, crossing his arms. No, Lydia, now's perfect. Vivian, if you've got more, lay it out. Otherwise, pay the $500 cash by tonight or pack up. I'm not bluffing. I've managed everything here, bills to budget. You think one mystery payment and a screenshot overpower that? I pulled the folder from the counter where I'd set it earlier, opening it to spread the full bank statements across the table, pages with account numbers, transaction histories, and current balances showing 6 figures from the investments my husband and I had nurtured. Here, these are the complete statements going back years. Sold the house after he passed, invested smartly, stocks, bonds, growth compounding. Not fake, Derek. Check the dates, the bank logos. I've been independent all along, contributing quietly to avoid this exact money drama. Lydia reached for one of the pages, her eyes scanning the numbers. Mom, this shows over 100,000? And the interest. Wow. Why hide this? We could have avoided all the arguments. Derek snatched a statement, flipping through it quickly, his face paling slightly before he tossed it back down. Okay, looks real enough. But so what? Hidden wealth doesn't erase the years you've lived off us. Groceries, utilities, space. If you're loaded, why not pay from day one? This changes nothing. The $500 is still due, or restrictions hit. Lydia, back me up. She's twisted this to look like the victim. I reached into my pocket then, pulling out my wallet and sliding the black card across the table, its sleek surface gleaming under the kitchen light. Changes nothing. This is my black card. Unlimited limit tied to those accounts. Symbol of everything we've built. I could cover a year's bills in one swipe, Derek. But here's the real twist. While you've been boasting about control, I've seen your credit card statement. Thousands in debt, restaurants, online shopping, gym fees you never mentioned. It fell out of your bag while I was cleaning. How's that for managing the household? Hypocrisy much? Lydia's mouth dropped open, turning to him. Derek, debt? You said our finances were solid. Is this true? He stood up abruptly, chair tipping back but not falling, his hands clenching at his sides. You snooped in my bag? That's invasion of privacy. Lydia, don't listen. Those charges are temporary. Work stuff I'll get reimbursed. It's not debt. It's strategy. Vivian's twisting facts to rally you against me. The black card? Flashy, but proves she's been freeloading on purpose. Pay the $500 today, or you're out, Lydia. Tell her we agree on this. But Lydia shook her head slowly, stacking the statements. Derek, if she's got this much, and you're in debt, this is messed up. Mom, you should have said something sooner, but it's overwhelming. I gathered the papers back into the folder, slipping the black card into my wallet, my voice firm amid the peaking tension. Overwhelming. Derek's threats forced it out. I've demanded accountability now, no more insults, no more demands. Admit you've been wrong, or this escalates. Lydia, you see it, right? His control is a sham. Derek paced the kitchen, pointing at me desperately. Escalates? You're the one exposing private stuff. Lydia, she's manipulating you. Those debts are nothing, under control. Don't let her overpower us. We set the rules here. Full proof? This is it, but it doesn't erase her burden. Pay up, Vivian, or face the consequences. Lydia stood up, hands raised. Stop, both of you. Derek, if the debt's real, we need to talk. Mom, this card and statements, it proves you're not dependent. But why now? I locked eyes with Derek, the confrontation at its height, his resistance crumbling under the revelations. Why now? Because he's pushed too far, but there's more if needed. Ball's in your court, Derek. Admit the hypocrisy, or we'll see what happens next. He slammed his fist on the counter lightly, twisting toward Lydia. See? Threats now. Lydia, side with me. We can't let her take over. But she hesitated, looking at the folder. I need time. This overpowers everything I thought. The air crackled with unresolved tension, his desperate attempts failing as my truths landed hard. I cleared the plates, heart racing, knowing this peak left everything on edge for the final push. The kitchen air hung heavy that Friday morning, the uneaten eggs congealing on our plates as Derek's desperate words echoed off the walls, his pacing coming to a halt as he gripped the back of his chair. I stood by the counter, my hand steady on the folder of statements, watching Lydia process it all, her face a mix of shock and quiet resolve as she stared at the papers, then at him. Derek, enough, she said finally, her voice firmer than I'd heard in months, pushing her plate away and standing up slowly. Mom's shown us everything, the statements, the black card, even your debt that you kept from me. If it's business expenses, why hide it? We've been pinching pennies, arguing over every bill, and you've got thousands racked up on secret charges? That's not control. That's lying. Derek's shoulders slumped, his eyes flicking to her with a plea as he sank back into his seat, the fight draining from his posture. Lydia, it's not like that. The charges, yeah, some were dumb, impulse stuff, when work stressed me out. I didn't want to worry you. Reimbursements are coming for the work ones, but I should have told you. I'm sorry, to both of you. Vivian, I was wrong, calling you names, threatening to cut you off. I felt like I was carrying everything. But seeing this, your investments, the card, you're not dependent. I overreached. Big time. No more demands, no $500. And the restrictions, forget them. I set the folder down carefully, crossing my arms as I leaned against the counter, feeling a cautious relief start to settle in my chest. Apology accepted, Derek. But it's not just words. You've humiliated me for months, made me feel like an outsider in my own daughter's home, and hiding that debt while lecturing me, that's what broke this open. I kept my assets quiet for family peace, but your threats forced it all out. Lydia, you see now, respect can't be based on who looks like they're in charge. Lydia nodded, stepping around the table to stand between us, her expression serious but not unkind. I do see it. Derek, I love you, but this can't keep happening. The secrets, the control, it's straining us. We need counseling starting next week. I'll find a therapist today. And the budget. We share it openly from now on. No more you handling everything alone. Show me your accounts, all of them, right after breakfast. If we don't fix this, I need space to think about us. Mom deserves better, and so do I. Derek rubbed his face with both hands, nodding slowly as he pulled out his phone from his pocket. Okay, counseling, yeah, I'll go. And here, he said, opening his banking app and sliding the phone to her. Full access. The debt's about $4,000, mostly from last quarter. We'll pay it down together, no more hiding. Vivian, I get it now. You built that security with your husband. I respect that. No more jabs. Stay as long as you want on equal terms. I picked up my coffee mug, taking a sip to steady myself, the bitterness matching the lingering hurt, but softened by this shift. Equal terms, that's all I've wanted. No more treating me like a burden. And Lydia, thank you for seeing it. We can rebuild, but it starts with honesty. We cleared the table in awkward silence after that, Derek helping without being asked, stacking plates in the sink while Lydia scrolled through his app, her brow furrowed as she noted the charges. We'll make a plan this weekend, she said to him, handing the phone back. No more solo decisions. He nodded, rinsing the dishes quietly. The usual bluster gone. Over the next few weeks, the changes took hold gradually, like a wound healing under careful bandaging. Derek followed through on counseling, attending sessions with Lydia twice a week, where they worked on his need for control and her habit of avoiding conflict. He opened up the household budget completely, sharing spreadsheets with both of us, and started paying down his debt steadily, cutting out the unnecessary spending. Even canceling that gym membership he never used. The strain in their marriage eased bit by bit. No separation, but clearer boundaries, with Lydia speaking up more often, like when she insisted on family meetings for big decisions. For me, the victory came in restored dignity. I wasn't the outsider anymore. Derek's apologies stuck. He stopped the subtle digs, even asking my advice on investments once, admitting my planning with my husband had been smart. Lydia and I grew closer too, long talks over coffee where she confided how blind she'd been, promising to stand by me no matter what. The black card stayed in my wallet, a quiet symbol of my strength, used only for voluntary contributions like chipping in for groceries without fanfare. In the end, I chose independence on my terms, moving into a cozy condo just a few miles away, funded by my assets, close enough for weekly dinners, far enough for my own space. The first night there, Lydia helped unpack, hugging me tight. Mom, this is right. You've earned it. Derek even carried boxes, grunting as he set them down. Looks good, Vivian. Sorry again for everything. The outcome felt just, affirming that underestimating someone invites consequences, but respect can mend what's broken. Our family bonds strengthened on fairer ground, appearances no longer defining worth, true value shown through actions, and in the end, that's what prevailed. My dear, if you're watching this and feel your heart growing heavy, then perhaps you are just like me, someone who has endured so much just to keep a home peaceful, someone who stayed silent just so others could feel comfortable. I don't know your story, but if there was ever a time you thought, it's okay, I can take a little more, then please leave me a comment with just one sentence. I have endured. I cannot promise to change everything for you, but I want you to know this. Suffering in silence is not your duty, and staying quiet for too long will make you lose yourself. If today you aren't strong enough to say no, that's okay. Just don't blame yourself. And if this story feels like it's speaking for your heart, please subscribe and stay here with me so that every day I can remind you that the person who sacrifices the most also deserves to be treated with kindness. On screen right now, you'll see 2 new stories I think you'll really enjoy. There are many more waiting for you on the channel, so don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss one. See you in the next story. Until then, take care of yourself and the people you love, with all my love and respect.